So again, depress, squeeze your pec as hard as you can, reach across. That is a lot more engagement because this is shortening pec fibers, or sorry, lengthening them because they have to go back, they're opening up. This is actually putting them in a shortened position where they're optimally working. The other problem with retraction, we'll run out of room early, so our only way to get to the chest is similar to that head up, elevation and dumping. That is hell on your shoulder capsule. Even leads to pec tears. We've seen a ton of injuries. If you bench that way, please stop before you have an injury. Stop your friends, right? Get them to watch this part of the video. We need them to get out of that position. Here's the note though, where the argument gets weird. People go back and forth. We're pretty neutral because we think about the function of the scapula. We're not saying don't retract. What happens at the bottom of a bench press? I'm pretty much maximally retracted. What happens at the bottom of a row or a seated row? We find retraction. You can't start there. Start from anchoring the scapula in good depression, pec and lat are more available to do their job correctly. As the bar gets closer to my chest, whether I'm benching or rowing, naturally the scapula will stay down, not elevated, and it will come together at the bottom. So for people arguing back and forth which one's right or wrong, they're both right, and that's the confusing part. It's where in the press do they come in. For that optimal performance point, it must be depressed first for stabilization, and then let the body naturally go through its patterning.
And two more points I got to make there, because this is such an important discussion. Me and Kyle talk about this constantly, but if Kyle shows a bench press position and then depresses one more time, what you'll notice is it's completely independent of humerus rotation. We are not seeing rotation of the arm, and this is what we see so constantly when you see somebody overzealously tuck throughout the entirety of the eccentric and get into really unstacked positions. It's because they can't delineate scapular depression between scapular depression and rotation of the actual arm. We want to avoid arm rotation, and we should be able to learn to demonstrate good enough motor control to depress the scapula independent of any twisting of the arm itself. Now, the last thing I want to touch on here is that you'll notice that when we actually depress, once again, the totality of scapular function, just to give you a general idea here, is we start in depression. We go through retraction during the eccentric, we go through protraction during the concentric, but we never enter a truly protracted position. This is another really important note. A lot of people hear protraction on the concentric and they overpress, just like Kyle's doing there. We never enter a truly protracted position. We just should have retraction on the eccentric, protraction back to neutral on the concentric, and that's kind of a general idea of what the scapula should be doing during the entirety of the press. Now let's go ahead and get into our cadence of cues. So Kyle's going to go ahead and lay back here, but prior to doing so, or as he does so, he's going to make sure that he is nice and even with his equipment, that his plates are on all the way, that the barbell's not shifted to one side or the other, that everything is set into place that needs to be set into place. And then from here, he's going to go ahead and start to actually set his position as well. So some people get into position by grabbing the sides of the rack. Some people get into position by grabbing the barbell. There's lots of different ways to do it, but Kyle is going to really try to maximize that thoracic extension. Now, once he's here, his position's taken care of, he's absolutely even, he's going to start to make sure he goes through his rigidity checklist. And at this point, he's already checked left, right, made sure his grip is nice and even. So from here, he's going to brace, breathe, brace. He's going to create some preliminary leg drive. He's going to go ahead and depress the scapula, and from here, actually unrack. Now, once he gets here, he's going to reinforce all of that rigidity. Going to make sure he's fully braced, scapula depressed. He's actively squeezing the barbell, especially with that pinky, and he's creating some beautiful leg drive. From here, he's going to make sure he is going through his eccentric, pause to the bottom, and press. Beautiful. Re-rack and slowly come up here. We'll go through this one more time in a second, but anything to add, Kyle?
That was hard. As I catch my breath. Again, setup should be harder than the actual execution. Just like the squat, I'm trying to not make it pop out too much too soon, but when the rigidity checklist is done, This is true with deadlift off the floor too. So uniquely, and overhead, right? All these lifts start to tie this together. Once your global tension or your rigidity checklist is created, you might feel the barbell already coming out of the rack. That's not a bad thing before you even try. It's kind of cool to feel weight 2, 3, 4, 500 pounds, depending on how strong you are, all the way up to like 80, 90% of your max, just kind of levitate or pop out of the rack or off the floor. That's not bad, but that doesn't mean that I go right into my press or my deadlift. As soon as it pops out, I'm like, good, I'm tight. Everything's there. Bring it out to optimal position. Pause. Reinforce all those key points before executing.
All right, now one more time, we're going to go through it. He's going to first make sure he's even. He's going to facilitate maximal thoracic extension, sternum to ceiling, using his environment. Now from here, he's going to grab the bar, and as he does so, right, left, making sure he's absolutely even. From here, he's going to go through his rigidity checklist or global tensioning, where he braces, he depresses the scapula, he's creating some preliminary leg drive, and from here, he's going to unrack. Once it's out in front of him, he's going to reinforce everything. Make sure he's depressed, reinforce that brace, create even more leg drive, then finally begin the eccentric pause and actually press. And you'll also notice he returns the barbell to the rack safely. He does not toss it up there. He does not actually let go of it until it is settled in the rack. Because with the barbell bench press, especially, sometimes people do it way too aggressively, pops out on one side, lets it go a little bit too early, ends up being a bit rough from there.
If you're feeling this in your low back, resort back to your other things, right? Our feet up bench, our machine chest press, all these other things that we'll cover in your programming section. But you can also just check in, make sure, am I actually bracing, or is this more relaxed than I want and I'm leg driving? One of the favorite videos that'll be supplemental to this is a band over the belly so it presses into our stomach when we bench. You can see it really good on video. Obviously red band or yellow band, small band with a black shirt is great. You'll see, is it sinking in? Am I maintaining a brace? And you'll feel it. So if you're feeling your low back, check in, make sure you're bracing. If you are bracing well and you're not losing pressurization or that rigidity as you press, the next thing we need to do, can I pull out of my arch a little bit and try to extend more T-spine? If I can't extend more T-spine, can I pull out of my arch a little bit? That'll probably help you feel a lot less in your low back, because you shouldn't be stressing out your low back as you do this. If you followed the steps and you paid attention to the programming section and got yourself back to this position, you should be pretty solid. But just to highlight there, the last thing we want to do is start to build a massive bench press while you're rebuilding the squat and deadlift or your other lifts as well, and then have an injury because we did something wrong in the bench press and now my low back's affected again.
Absolutely. I think that about covers it for pressing. But last thing I want to say is it is amazing how much a cadence of cues, a tensioning series can do for your consistency and safety around lifts. I know this can maybe sound a little bit redundant after a while. Some people think they're too good for that stuff there, but it's amazing how high level of athletes even forget this stuff, don't do this stuff optimally, and by simply implementing one of these cadence of cues kind of strategies that we just went through, it can have some massive benefits, their ability to lift heavily and stay safe as they do so.
For sure, and to highlight on that last point, because it's very important, we've talked about this before, but in case you missed it, write it down. Put it in your notepad, bring a slip of paper to the gym with you, put it on the wall in your garage gym. It's like a checklist of starting your car, right? You don't just get in and take off. You have to turn it on. If you have the emergency brake on, you got to do that. You got to hit reverse. If your mirrors are fogged up, like you have to clear these certain points. You go to exit on the street, you stop, you turn, now you're going. We know that, and it's become robotic, but too many times lifting is just chaos and we don't follow the same steps. If you follow the same steps when you drive, your car's going to function better and you're going to be safe. So let's follow those same steps here, make sure you function better and you're safe. And I forgot to touch on it before because I talked feet up bench, machine chest press, these other things. All this still applies. If I get in like a hammer strength or plate loaded machine, I still bump, 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 and I do the same things, right? Feet up is no different other than my feet aren't touching the ground. Don't let a different environment or different implement change the way you set up.